Hey everyone, thanks for coming to the show. It was pretty fun, and thanks for coming to the Gang Audio Network Guild's post show. You already know my name, I've said it like 1,000 times by now. I'm Cody Matthew Johnson, and I'm your Gang Audio Network Guild membership liaison and your co-host, and I'm here with my wonderful and seriously talented co-host and pretty good friend, Will Roget.
Hey everyone, great to be here.
Yeah, you know, it was a good night. There were some big wins. Death Stranding pulled ahead. What stuck out to you, Will? What were some of your favorites?
I played and loved Death Stranding as well. I also really loved Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I know firsthand that it's so hard to advance in a type of game where it's a big franchise and you have the whole esports component. So to advance in the audio and to do something innovative, it's very admirable. So huge props to the Call of Duty team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's rare for me to like finish. And this is gonna sound horrible, to finish listening to a soundtrack, like to listen it, burn it the whole way through.
Yeah.
And I found myself wanting to hear more from Rend and specifically Beast Simulator. And I'm very
Yeah.
serious. I loved both of those scores. They were extremely beautiful, and they've inspired me to go and play those games, because that might not be something that I typically kind of jump into and enjoy. But you know, we
Absolutely,
did
yeah.
it. You know, we did it. It was live. This is live, whether you believe it or
This is
not. You
this
can
is
tell.
truly live. Yeah,
This.
the slight
I'm wearing the
costume
same
change,
shirt.
but this.
Yeah. I'm wearing the
Yeah.
same. If you know how many shirts I wore over the last hour and a half, and you DM me, I'll buy you a cookie at the next time everyone's together or something. The first
Yeah.
one's on me. Whatever it is you want, you know.
Neither of us can use fans or AC for the mic, so it's a little toasty right now.
It's pretty hot. I'm sweating bullets, but we're making it work because we care about you, and this is important. And giving back to our
Absolutely.
community and being here is what we love, and we're trying to give you an opportunity to speak to your fans, to speak to the community. So let's do it. Well, let's jump into it. Let's see if we can make this happen the way it's supposed to. Like the pre-show wasn't initially supposed to. We did it though. It's great.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna load in some of the Game Audio Network Guild Award winners, and we have some questions that we'll ask. We'll dive deeper into their kind of processes and immersion. Take a shot, and we'll take some Q&A at the very end. If you have any questions, I'll jump onto the Twitch stream if that's a good idea, and you know, we'll see what people think, and if it's not atrocious, maybe you'll get called out. Could be fun. Okay, first up, man, this guy's awesome. He cleaned up. I mean, the Death Stranding sound in general is iconic. We have Ludwig Forssell. All right.
Oh, can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, Ludwig.
We
Thanks for
can
being
hear you.
here.
Oh, you want to stretch this out? We're making it work. We just got to resize our Zoom window. Yeah, just pull out the side and the sideways.
Take your time. Take your time. Oh my God.
All right, that's
Are
as
you
good
good?
as it's gonna
Yeah.
get. We're doing it. We're doing it. Okay,
There we
Ludwig,
go.
you're a legend, man. You're like, this year. You're definitely
Oh my
like my
God.
game audio hero. So congrats to you and the whole DS team, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm honestly speechless right now. Let me just go off and thank the team back here in Japan, all the sound designers and audio programmers at the KJP team. And of course, as you guys might have heard a few times during the show, I also like to thank the Sony team, Mike and Jody and Phil and everybody. It's a huge team, and they really made us let us pull something off that I didn't think we would be able to do when we first started out with such a small new studio.
That's awesome, and thanks so much again for joining us. We had a couple things we'd love to talk about the game. So first things first, when you started the project, what were some of your early ideas and inspirations that guided the experience?
Well, let me just say, like you guys, I'm originally a composer, so I'm not originally a sound designer. So starting off as an audio director slash composer for this thing kind of made me have to take a different direction than maybe some other people would. So it started off with very conceptual ideas rather than like raw ideas of how we were going to tackle things technically, so on and so forth. So it was more of an idea of the world that Mr. Kojima wanted to create, the themes of it, and more kind of a gut approach to many of the sound designs that I then worked out with the sound teams and the guys with more experience than me, to kind of make concrete things out of those. While as it obviously for me was very important to have it kind of be a collaborative thing with music and sound design at the same time, as that was kind of a special opportunity for us, being able to do those cohesively together at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Will. There's, it's classic Zoom delay. You're absolutely right. It's a masterful feat, blurring those lines and blending the space between music and sound. And even on the clip, I think it was I don't remember the clip, but it's the big boss at the end that's walking, and you don't know what's music and you don't know what's sound design. And moments like that throughout the whole game. Me personally, I finished it a few weeks ago, and my mind is just blown. It's and even down to the actor performances and some of that. So I'm wondering if there's that creative collaboration you're talking about. Can you describe that a bit more? Are you working closely with Sony, and how does that process develop over the course of however many years it took to develop Death Stranding?
Yeah, first off, thank you. That's definitely what we were going for, that blend. Well, I feel like in a lot of ways I'm a conduit between Mr. Kojima and Sony, and also the composer side of myself, where it's kind of deciphering the ideas and themes that Mr. Kojima is putting forth into something that is sound and audio, and basically being able to have a somewhat concrete idea of what the world that Mr. Kojima wanted to create was at the very beginning. When I first joined the company, we already had a bunch of design documents to go through and kind of understand what the whole thing would be. Then working slowly towards having a really good relationship with the Japanese side of everything, and then Sony in the States, and going back and forth between these different minds, basically, to create this puzzle in a way. I think it would have been really hard if we didn't have such close connections between us here in Japan and the guys in the States. Like, I couldn't have asked for better people to work with. Love everybody on the team. Me and Mike, we send Twitter hearts to each other every other week. Love the guy.
I love it.
So yeah, it's a very close collaboration.
Awesome.
That's great. And so I guess the last question that we have is, there's so many people who I think are going to be greatly inspired by this score. It's so unique and it blends so perfectly with the world. And I was wondering if you just had any kind of pieces of advice for aspiring composers who maybe are just joining the industry and looking to learn their craft.
Well, you can't really, it doesn't work the same for everyone. Basically, it all comes down to what everybody usually says. It's like, if you believe in yourself, if you have something that you want to do, don't give up on your dream. In my case, that ended up being kind of a weird roundabout way of me wanting to go to Japan, and then realizing that I could further my music in Japan, and just seeing what opportunities are out there and how you can work around that the best way. If it means moving to a different country, if it means getting into an industry that you originally might not have thought you would be getting into, it doesn't matter, as long as you're just kind of seeing what opportunities there are and just always trying your best at them. There are many different things that'll make you a valuable component in the game audio world. I'd say for myself, it's not being a very technical sound designer or composer. It's more of a constantly trying to have new ideas and trying out new things. So whatever works for you, just keep trying. It's not
Awesome,
the
man.
most interesting answer maybe, but like, you know, it just happened for me, and I don't think I've had any things that I just didn't think I didn't deserve or anything. So it's just keep going and try getting better at your craft.
That's awesome, man. I think that note of experimentation and kind of your love for new things definitely comes through in all of your work, and it's well deserved. 9 nominations, 6 wins. That's awesome. Congratulations again, and
Yeah.
thanks for coming on the show, and hopefully you'll have some more masterpieces soon. Thank
you guys. Thank you, gang, and everyone who tuned in. This has been an amazing evening for you guys, but I'm going to get to work from here on out, and I'll see if I can be productive at all.
Awesome. We'll enjoy the day. Take care, man.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay. That was Ludwig Forssell. He's awesome. So good. Oh, let's transition back to the multi-interview. Let's do it. And we're coming back now with John Robert Matz, ranger, performer, composer extraordinaire, general, all-around nice guy. John, how you doing? How you feeling?
Thanks. Thank you very much. I'm ecstatic. Wow, that's it's wild. Like this was a really ridiculous, fun project to make. You know, these kind of I'm a complete musical theater nerd. Can you tell?
Oh yeah.
No.
And by the way, not to interrupt, but I loved this piece so much. And also, I don't think I ever mentioned to it, but you worked on the Final Fantasy Tactics piece as well, which is similar in this musical theater kind of style.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine, Jeff Swingle, he and I both like kind of teamed up and started doing ridiculous musical theater things based on classic Japanese role-playing games, and you know that spun off into a project which is happening in some form, but this is like the 4th or 5th iteration of this. Like we refined our ridiculous system of producing these distributed remote recorded like audio drama musical theater hybrid things, and it's a riot and a half. I love doing it, and the people that we've been working with, the singers and the orchestra and the sound design talent, etc. Just it's been a heck of a time. It's wonderful. I love it.
That's fantastic. Awesome. And I mean, my first question is, like you said, it's a huge collaboration. I mean, you look at those credits and it just goes a mile long. And so I was just wondering, how did you manage to coordinate so many players and bring it into such a cohesive mix?
Well, so it started with the Materia Collective and the Materia Collective community albums. Like all this stuff kind of spun out of that group. I met a lot of wonderful people and started like working on them with different projects, and then kind of like we built up a roster of wonderful folks, and it kind of went from there. And then like coordinating it all is all like it's a process. Like we couldn't do it without things like Facebook and Trello, and like having that kind of online community, be able to message everyone, send out parts, upload files to Dropbox, etc. I could get into the raw technical details, but I don't know if everyone wants to hear me talk about like healing, melodyning everything so it's perfectly aligned, because it's just there's so much nitty gritty to get into. But like it's the whole remote ensemble / remote orchestra thing is it's a process, but it's one that we've been able to hone and
awesome
and fill out over the years that we've been doing it.
That's amazing. One quick last question before we maybe check into the next guest is, what spoke to you about specifically this piece from Chrono Cross, I believe, to do a musical Chrono Trigger, to do a musical theater kind of arrangement of it? What spoke to you about that piece to do that?
There is something weirdly. The piece itself has some real good back and forth going on already, And it's set at this point in the game where there's like a clearly defined scene. I mean, it's this, it's the trial. It's the sequence very early in the game when you are falsely arrested and accused of abducting the princess, and all kinds of stuff's happening. And they trot out all these witnesses who are either for you or against you. And you find out that stuff you've chosen to do that was completely innocuous back at the beginning is now come back to bite you. And all of this stuff together, combined with this really wonderful music, like just seemed to lend itself well to like these interjecting characters and like little bits of like snarky humor back and forth, while having, still having an arc that we could give it to this to match with the story of the scene. And then like it didn't have a lot of like, the context of the scene was such that it was easy to isolate it and make a complete little story unto itself that you could follow in an audio only format. And so like, kind of a combination of things. You get your music, which is wonderful, the point in the story that you can really communicate well with, and then it was just like, there you go. It's a perfect slice of the Chrono Trigger pie to turn into something absurd.
Amazing.
Like this.
I love it. That's so cool. And the piece is beautiful. It's well done. It's well performed. Congratulations again, John. Hopefully we can see each other soon and hang out. Maybe there's a MagFest in the future. Thanks for coming on the post show, and congratulations to you and the whole team. Take care, man.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
See you, John. Congratulations.
Thanks, Will.
Okay. I think next up we have Neil Acree from Honor of Kings 2.0, which tonight won Best Music for a Casual Game. It's a beautiful score. There's a lot of contributors to it. Will, what did you think? Oh, Neil is in. Welcome, Neil. How are you doing? How are you feeling about your win?
Oh, great. Thank you. Just wanted to say, I mean, the Honor of Kings win is a group effort for sure. And the acceptance was by Hongfei Zhao, the audio director at Timmy Audio. And I'm not sure anyone's aware that the other composers include Thomas Parrish, Jeff Broadbent, Matthew Carl Earl, Hiromi Mizutani, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these, Edwin Wendler, Moeki Harada, Obadiah Brown Beach. And it's, one of those things where we're all working on the thing individually, not necessarily with each other, but, it's a great team, and it was an honor to be a part of it.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, our first question is, of course, how did that collaboration come about, and how did you divide work amongst yourselves, and what was the process?
That was all up to the audio director, who reached out to individual composers and brought people in to assign them to specific areas of the game. I wrote a theme that was, the main theme for the new Honor of Kings 2.0, which previous theme composers included Hans Zimmer and Howard Shore, which is, it's an incredible honor and daunting task to, follow in those footsteps, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very cool. And Neil, you're one of my favorite orchestral composers of all time. I like playing Battle for Azeroth in my free time during the quarantine. Just huge fan of that, and your work on Honor of Kings is beautiful. Earlier today, I was listening to it, and the incorporation of Chinese instruments and orchestra. There's definitely a palette they've developed that is very specific to that world and that game. How did you was it difficult for you to jump into those shoes, coming from maybe different franchises like Warcraft, trying to pivot and jump into the Honor of Kings world?
Well, ironically, the first time I got to play around in that palette was with World of Warcraft, Mists of Pandaria, which was a sort of a Asian-themed version of World of Warcraft, if you will. So, that was the first time. I grew up on, kung fu movies with my dad, and getting to study martial arts with him, and I always kind of had like a fondness for the music of those movies, and kind of found my way to it fairly naturally, I suppose. So having done a few projects over the years, the challenge is less, finding the right instrumentation or finding the right sound, but it's kind of trying to do something different every time and not have it sound just like the last thing. Because invariably, anything I ever do that's Asian themed, people are going to be, oh, that sounds like Mists of Pandaria,
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Don't get me started. I was just grinding in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. So much PTSD from the daily quests. Don't get started.
Sorry.
Very cool. Well, this just in, you're nominated for the ASCAP Music of the Year award. Congratulations, Neil. That's amazing.
Thank you. The Composer's Choice Awards, and that came
Composer
in yesterday.
Choice Award,
and,
correct.
It's going to be the SCL Awards all over again, where we're going to lose to Gordy Hobb, and that's okay because
we all lose to Gordy. Don't worry.
And well deserved. Some great nominations there, and just want to say thanks to ASCAP for having a video game category in the Composer's Choice Awards. Anytime a film award includes video games in any way, it's important to recognize video game music as the art form, the beautiful art form that it is, and the important art form it is, alongside film scores and television scores. And it's thanks to ASCAP for that, and to all the ASCAP composers that voted to include me. Thank you.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Actually, we have a video to play after this interview from Sean at Teamy Studios and Tencent that features your music. So, everyone can get a little taste. And to be honest, it was one of the scores this year that has inspired me to play this specific game ran the most. So bravo. It's truly amazing. It's so good.
Thanks, Cody. Congratulations. Great broadcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Neil. Take care. Congrats.
Thanks so much, Neil.
China has many old traditional instruments. Each of them has a very unique timbre and unique skills. However, these instruments are not enough for expressing the intense mood of those combat scenes. So we used orchestra to enrich the overall texture. This makes Honor of Kings tracks not only have the characteristics of Chinese music, but also musically very epic and rich. Computer music production technology has been very developed, but musically perfection is the pursuit of music in Honor of Kings. Many professional live recording players has participated in almost all the tracks production. Even sometimes we do not have enough time to record the whole orchestra. We still insist on solo instruments recording to ensure the constant quality of the music. We have a mature music production system of the tracks, the logical instrumentation and music design, as well as the mixing, like the tracks sounds like they are created by the same composer. Mobile platform games have many characteristics and limitations. What we need to do is to understand these limitations and use the advantages of mobile phones. For example, we clearly understand that the mobile phone speakers cannot be 5.1. So we squeeze the energy of the phones to ensure that the most important sound can be heard. Besides, we are also very familiar with the frequency range of all kinds of mobile phones. Based on that, we optimize the mixing to have a better performance. Hope that through our continuous efforts, we can provide players with a better and better game experience. Thank you very much.
The next interview. Okay, now there should be audio. Well, take a shot. Now we wait for the next interview. We're just gonna, let's go to the next interview. Let's do it. Oh, we're there already. I don't need to do anything. Great. Austin.
Hello.
Man, you're
Hey,
legend.
great to see you, Austin.
How are you feeling
Likewise,
tonight?
sir. I'm doing very well. I had zero expectations for my prospects
That's
this
the
evening.
key to happiness, by the way.
Well, that's true. How Buddhist of you. Yeah, no, I'm great. Honestly, I love this community. I loved seeing how many of us were in the chat that would have been there in person. I wasn't sure if it was going to be, because I signed on. I thought, oh, it's probably just me here, and then I realized it's like, oh, there's like 300 of us, and it's literally seemingly everybody, which is amazing. So yeah,
it's incredible.
That's fantastic. Well, first off, congratulations on Erica. Beautiful score. Absolutely
Thank
gorgeous. You. And I think the first question that we all have is, the most striking thing about the game is that, of course, it's that sort of FMV style where it's seamlessly blending live action acting and photorealistic interactive visuals.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, did working with these real actors that are captured on film and everything change your approach to the musical scoring, as opposed to if it were a full-on CG experience?
I think yes. In a way, it shouldn't, because we should give an animated character, a CG performer, all the same scrutiny and detail with our music than we would a live action one, right? Like, I don't think we should talk down or like write down to something that's not realistic. But at the same time, you just can't help but react to the insane volume of nuance that we just haven't got to yet in CG. I'm sure it's only a matter of months by the looks of like Last of Us 2. But yeah, so in a way, yeah, I think also just the interactivity, like, because it was never like 3 minutes of a dialogue scene. It was every single thing had dramatic implications. So we never went more than maybe 10 or 15 seconds without the score having to do something. And so, yeah, that part, it was vastly more demanding than I expected. In a way, I loved that, because I'm always trying to make games more interactive. But this one actually pulled me farther and faster than I was ready for.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was watching some of your YouTube, your as noted, as scored things, and those are brilliant. Those are great education and learning opportunities, but also a look inside of your process. And the way you described it is great. How you're not playing out a piece of music, but it's every 10, 15 seconds that kind of slowly gives pulse and cadence to this gameplay. I don't know if you can, with a short number of words, explain in more detail, maybe for some younger or people who haven't played the game yet, how that kind of that score music system worked in the game.
It's, well, I mean, I can kind of just you referenced my YouTube video. I spent weeks making this video that's called Anatomy of a Scene. If they just go watch that, it's a better summary than I can give, because it shows that every few seconds the score had to do something. And I mean, I loved it, but the challenge was that everything was bespoke. There were no systems. There wasn't like combat music where you figured out how to do it and then had to then plug in an hour's worth to cover all the combat instances or whatever. It was like every single moment was, okay, she can pick up this phone or she can rifle through these cards. And you look at it and you go, okay, well, that's different than I have to go to that door versus stand here and do nothing. Like, they mean different things, and the music reacts to them differently. So it was just 1,000 one-offs, basically. I mean, literally the score is 300 plus cues for 80 minutes of music or something like that, because it's just broken into a billion little bits.
Wow,
so, yeah,
what's the math?
That was a medium number of words. Sorry.
That's awesome, and it is beautiful. It's really great, and I love kind of taking a diver deep into your process and hearing you speak about it, and making it a little less complicated in my own mind. Being able to just, it is a narrative. So what you're describing is it's narrative, but it's still very like tree and breaks off. So less interactive, but it's more based on your decisions going through the game.
Yeah, I mean, the whole game is one big lesson in branching narrative, because that's all that the game is. There is no like score, there's no death or winning or losing. It's making your way. You can think of it as you're watching a movie that has like 10 million variations of that movie within the movie, because there's like, it's about a 2-hour game, like a feature film, but there's something like 5 hours worth of content, and there's a million variables where, you know, you might do something at the beginning and that variable pays off somehow at the end, and you wouldn't even know how huge of a decision you were making at the time, because at the time the character was being presented with, oh, you know, do you want to go have lunch with that person or go talk to that person? And it turns out that forks the game massively at that moment. Or actually it's the one I'm just talking about is a 3-way split for the narrative. And so, yeah, there are no, like I said, there's no systems. I'm not scoring gameplay mechanics. It's scoring the moments like a film, but knowing that the player is in total control of that film.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Austin. Thanks for coming out. Congratulations on both of your wins. Well deserved.
No, and congrats to you guys. This was quite an achievement. I was just saying to Brian, but it should be said publicly again. It would have been so easy to just cancel this whole thing, or to just post a press release like, here are the winners, because this was a shit situation we found ourselves in. And you guys have made the most of it in a way far beyond what I think anyone would have expected, and it made it feel as close as possible to, for me, what is always the highlight of GDCs, like hanging with the extended family of you all. And so, for real, I was very impressed and grateful. It was like the sanity dose that I needed. So, and great job hosting, specifically to the two of you.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, man. Be safe.
Likewise, back at you.
Just hanging out. Look at us.
We're just still in it. Let's just go. Let's round two.
So we're gonna get some people in. All right, next up is, even Austin's gonna hang out with us until he's not. It's all good. Next up is it looks like we have the team from there. He's gone. Where's Austin? He was never here. Next up, we have the team from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. We have Gordy Hobb. We have Stephen Barton and Nick Leviers, the audio director. They had a big win tonight. They won. We got him. We got Gordy. Gordy's in.
Yep.
We're gonna have more at some point. Amazing. We'll give it a second. How are you feeling tonight, Gordy? What's going through your mind?
Oh, it's amazing, man. I'm first of all, I'm so impressed with how you guys put this together, because, I mean, that's really a big undertaking. So congrats on that. And I'm feeling ecstatic. I mean, it's such a huge honor. It's like my favorite honor, of all the awards. The G.A.N.G Awards is the best, because it's all voted on by, our peers, our friends, people in the industry we know. So it's just a great honor.
Amazing. And Stephen, welcome. Well, congratulations to you as well. How are you feeling, man?
Oh, well, I just slightly shocked, actually. I mean, that's, even to be mentioned in a list with that group of company is sort of insane on its own, really. So it's just hugely honored, and it's really a pleasure. It's actually my first time at the G.A.N.G Awards, and so, yeah, just it's crazy.
Amazing. And Nick, welcome. You're the guy that puts it all together. How are you feeling about the game and the team tonight?
I'm feeling very proud of Stephen and Gordy, and this little musical Three Musketeers we kind of put together for this. It's been a real journey. So, I mean, to end that journey with the G.A.N.G Awards, that's amazing.
Oh, that's great. Amazing.
Well, huge congratulations. And so we had a couple things we'd love to talk about. I mean,
sure.
First things first, this was a tremendously extensive score, and with so much detail and many hours and hours of orchestral material. And so we were just first wondering, how did you divide the workload between you?
I mean, it was, for the most part, I'd say it was probably 50-50, but
yeah,
that would imply that, Stephen did half the cues, I did half the cues, but that's really not the case. I mean, we actually collaborated on pretty much every single note of the score, Nick included. I mean, all three of us were, meeting on a regular basis and developing themes together and revising themes together and really kind of honing it in, and then, using each other's material and suggesting ideas on how to harmonize something, these kinds of things. So it was truly the most collaborative experience I've had. It was pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, in a big sense, certainly with all the thematic material, there's no real way in which, I think, suddenly there's no way I could say, like, that bit, I did that bit, only that bit, and yeah, that's me. It's because, it's just, we bounce stuff back and forward all the time, particularly. Yeah, I mean, it's you're always looking to find, it's interesting. It's someone else's perspective on something is always a fascinating thing to get, and composing such this sort of weird, ephemeral, solitary art, and normally, and that there were places where suddenly I'd find where I would hit a wall. And I just, jot it down on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, send it to Gordy, be like, what the hell do I do with this? And he'd send something back going, well, duh, and finish the rest of it. And I'd be like, oh, okay, and so it's one of those things where that we don't ever really hit any walls in that sense, which, it just allowed us to move through this huge amount of music, nearly 7 hours recorded with the orchestra in London. So which we just couldn't have got through otherwise. So.
I think both of you got to write stuff that really inspired you. So that was one of the cool things about it. I mean, with some of the stuff that we were using as reference material was stuff that both of you really into. So we found your sweet spot.
That's amazing. I mean, 7 hours of material and even all the sound in the game. This question's for Nick. I can only imagine how difficult something like a Star Wars game would be to mix, especially interactively with such a unique sound palette and just... It has such a deep, rich history, and I'd imagine you have to be very honest and pure about that. How can you outline how some of the interactivity works in the game and how you manage to get music and sound design and voice all to come together to still feel like a Star Wars experience, but a 2019 video game?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, the music that Alan Meyerson mixed was very, very transparent, but in a good way. I mean, we could kind of weave it around everything, and it was very spatial as well, which gave us it enabled us to put it together with the other stuff that we had going on really, really well. I mean, the other thing that we tried to do as well, and from the very beginning of the game, we mixed all of the cinematics for the game. And I had a very talented gentleman working with me called Kevin Notar, who went through trying to match as much as possible everything that we had in the interactive game with the cinematics. Charles Diener was working on the cinematics, and Myron over there at Charles's place, and Kevin was taking that and kind of really making the whole thing a seamless experience between the cinematics and the in-game stuff, including the music. So I'd occasionally check in on him to see what he was up to with the music, making sure he was being kind to it, and he was.
Yeah, it comes across beautifully in the game. I just have one last kind of burning question for both Gordy and Steven. I mean, Gordy, this has got to be your like 5th Star Wars game at this point, right?
I think it's more than that, believe it or not. I've kind of lost count. There's little mobile games and these kinds of things.
That's right, the mobile games as well.
Yeah, I think it's 9 in total. Wow. Yeah.
And I think Steven, is this your first Star Wars title?
Yeah, I'm a Lucasfilm new boy, really. It was it's one of those things where you come to it. It is a little bit like, I mean, I know you know this. It's a little bit like someone saying there's the Taj Mahal or there's the Eiffel Tower. I want you to add 9 feet onto the top of it. And it's kind of it's one of those exercises where if you get overawed by the rest of it, you can easily get into a very, very deep hole. And sort of kind of get there's this huge canon of stuff that just is people know and love, and there's I keep saying there's children who can barely string a sentence together again who would know one of the Star Wars themes the whole way through. So trying to find a way to both honor that, but then also to not be blinkered by it and to expand on it. I mean, I think it's a huge honor, and then it's incredibly daunting task as well. But it's crazy fun.
Absolutely, and your score sounds so fresh and so new, but it still sounds beautifully Star Wars. It's definitely Star Wars in every way.
That's great, man.
So huge congratulations to all 3 of you for this.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show, everyone, and stay safe. Congratulations again, and do that good stuff. And Gordy, feel free to just give me a few bottles of whiskey next time I'm at your house.
Got you covered, man.
You won't even notice they're gone. Let's be honest. All right, guys, take care. Be safe.
Everyone.
Have fun.
Take care, y'all. Thanks for coming.
Okay, all right. Up next, No, we're good. We're good. All right. We had a little audio snafu. Take a shot. But next up is, let me see Here it is Mikolaj Strawinski from Bee Simulator. He won Best Indie Music, or Best Game, or Best Music for an Indie Game today, or tonight, wherever you're at. And we'll go to the interview slide, and we'll be there in 2 seconds. And we're back. Mikolaj, welcome to the show. Congratulations.
Hello.
Your score's amazing. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, very honored. Very, very happy. I wasn't expecting that. That's for sure. It's a great honor, and you know, to be awarded such a thing from such a amazing group of people. Wow. Yeah, amazing.
Fantastic. And I mean, it's so crazy to see this. This is an indie game, but it's got this great live orchestra, and it's beautifully orchestrated by the composer from one of the biggest AAA titles that there is, which was so
thanks.
We were all wondering, you know, how did you get involved with the project, and how did this all come about?
I was invited. First of all, I have to give props to Piotr Musiał, who did the who helped me with orchestration. I'm sorry I'm not very fluent because it's past 4 a.m. right now where I am. But yeah, I was invited to the project. Somehow, just people, Forssell Game Studios reached out to me and showed me what the game looked like, and I was like, hell yeah, you know, good graphics, insects, flying. I mean, you guys are composers, you know that those things are very inviting to write music for, right? So it was an immediate yes. And then I said, hey, this game, you know, looks so great. It really needs a live orchestra, which turned into 2 sessions because after 20-something minutes, you know, the game kept growing, and after we had a live session done, we had to schedule another one for, you know, after like 5 months or so.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Can you, for those of the out there who don't know your score, I love it. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
And I will vouch for this score to anyone listening. If you even respect my music choice a little bit, you should listen to this score. It's really beautiful.
Oh my God.
What was your process? Like what informed you about the music and the textures, and can maybe you dive into the music system a little bit?
I don't think there is much to say about the music interactive system. I think there's a couple of tracks which have layers, and the layers come in depending on the location where you are. Like for instance, you're flying in the beehive, and as you enter different parts of it, you know, different layers turn on. As far as writing music, I mean, I think. I don't know how you guys do it, but what works for me best is just to be with the game for a while, to be and the music just magically appears. Might sound cheesy, but that's what it is. And I wanted to write something else, but then the game, you know, forced me to sort of write what I did. I'm really happy with the theme variations. I don't know if it's noticeable or not, but there's one theme or two which get, you know, which change over the course of the game and music. So I don't know what else can I say about this. You will have to help me to get my thoughts together.
What was I mean, how did the artwork speak to you in terms of orchestration or textures? Like, what did you? Looking at the bee, how did you not just go down the Flight of the Bumblebee route? You know, like how did you not just do that?
Partially because everybody says that, and frankly speaking, that was my first thought. At some point, I wanted to have a background texture of very fast flute runs, you know, sort of accompanying that, but no. Well, the flight was the main thing. So I think there is a lot of movement in the music, mirrors this flying thing. some elements of orchestration relate to the sounds and sort of moves that that insects do. So like tremolo ponticello on strings, or even pizzicato, which kind of reflects this tick 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 tick, which you can hear. Or you have a spider adventure at some point. You get caught up in the spider web, and spider,
no
hang on. Okay, well, there's that too. And I think some kinds of music turn on better in me than others, and this kind of light orchestral stuff I really like. And I kind of even before I said yes to the game, I felt that this is going to be something of the kind. I mean, obviously, it's a game for for kids to play with their parents. It's a game. Wish I had coffee. It's light. It's light.
Yeah.
It calls for light orchestration, and if you have light orchestration, you can show more details, right?
Absolutely.
It's naturally a game when you can show some melody and harmony and textures and orchestration. So that.
Amazing. It's really a beautiful score, and congratulations to you, and thanks for coming on to the post show, sharing some insight into that. Can't wait to hear what you come up with next, and hopefully we can see you soon at a future event.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, and I love being here. Thank you so much to both of you, and for organizing the whole thing, man. Great thing.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Take care, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Next up, it looks like we have... Oh, we're going to do a transition, and then we're back. Next up, it looks like we have Marty the Elder O'Donnell coming on the show, the audio director and composer for Golem. He'll be on momentarily. It's a beautiful VR game. Will, have you had a chance to play it?
I've only had a chance to see it, but I mean, everything from it looks really, really well done. I'm so inspired by VR these days. It's just come so far, so quickly. Even at the beginnings of VR, it's like people were saying that you shouldn't even have music in VR games. But now, after however many years it's been, we're having brilliant scores in VR. So I'm very proud of the progress that it's made.
And welcome, Marty. Welcome to the post show. How are you doing?
It's great.
How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
It's hot, but we're hanging in there.
In the studio here.
Well, this is good because you guys are all pre-recorded and now you're live, but you're sort of live in the same place you recorded yourself. So that was a good idea.
It's quite identical. Can you tell how many shirts I've worn? No, you can't.
No, actually, it's funny because the day today is almost exactly the same way it was when I recorded my little happy thing. So it's great. Will, are you up here? You're up here in Seattle too, right?
I am, yeah. I'm up in Wallingford.
Oh, Wallingford. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And Cody, you're down in L.A. or San Francisco? Where are you?
I'm here in the beautiful, obviously sunny Los Angeles. You can't tell,
with a black curtain background. Okay.
No, I'm facing the sun. Anyways, Marty.
Okay.
The work on Golem is amazing. In fact, I loved your talk at Game SoundCon. I was right there in the front row hanging out with you when you talked about it a little bit, kind of opened up the themes a bit. Maybe go into detail about this new game studio and Golem and how you've kind of put everything together.
Well, it's a small independent studio. It's called Highwire Games, and it's primarily folks that have known each other for a while, some veterans in the industry, and then we've now hired a bunch of youngsters straight out of DigiPen. So we've got the old dogs and the young pups, and it's working pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, and we're now up to about 30, but Golem, I think especially at the end, there were 3 of us working on it towards the end. It had a storied little history. It was a VR project with Sony. It should have come out maybe 2 years earlier, but we kind of bit off more than we could chew. I think we had about 12 or 13 people working on it, so it felt very, very indie. And I'm really proud of what we did. It was a lot of work, but we have another project in the studio that's not VR, and we've sort of staffed up and been working on that for a while. Soon to be announced, I hope soon. But we had to figure out a way to get Golem shipped while the rest of the studio was doing that. So when you have a little independent studio, I remember I went to my 2 partners and I said, hey, it's, I'm playing Golem a lot now, and there's a lot of bugs that we need to fix, and where's our test team? Where's the quality assurance people? And they just both kind of looked at me, and I'm like, no, I'm not the guy. I can't be head of quality control. But I ended up being test team manager at the end, for the 3 of us that tested the game. And thankfully it didn't crash. So I'm pretty proud of that part.
That's awesome. I actually had a question slightly of a technical nature. I don't know if that's appropriate, but I'm just going to go into it. So I remember earlier you were talking about some developments that you were making on the use of rubato in live recorded game scores, and how to be able to use rubato, which is, for people who might not know, it's a freely timed, not precise on the click, but freely timed and very emotive style of playing, but with a full orchestra. And I was wondering if you could explain more about this technique, and if you use this on Golem, if that's what this project was for? Or...
Well, I've always had it a little bit. I've always had places where I have it. But there's, especially when you start to, if you're in control of all the instruments, then you have your own way of figuring that stuff out. As soon as you want to get a lot of live players, rubato can be really tough, because even a conductor, when they conduct a retard, and then if you ask them to do it again for the woodwinds, they never match what they just did. So if you want to have and you know how it is with game music, especially to make it adaptive and interactive, you want to have stems if you at all possibly can.
Yeah.
So if you have the different choirs of an orchestra, strings and woodwinds and brass and whatever else, if you can record something on the stick or with natural rubato, there were different ways. I did it. Sometimes I would do like a 2D pass, like all the strings playing together with a nice retard and rubato, and then we would bring in just the first violins, or just the first and second violins, and then we bring in the cellos afterwards. But we would quickly go into that recording and do a tempo map, so there would be a click that would help that out. But it is hard. There's a lot of, you have to work hard to get it tight and still get that natural feel. On Destiny, I did a bunch of music, for that prequel thing called Music of the Spheres, and we had a conductor in Abbey Road, and we had everybody there at the same time, and the rubato was totally natural in the room. But then we didn't have stems, so that made that a bit of a problem. I just feel like, especially with the tools we have for then taking those stems and using, and if I'm in control of how adaptive music plays back in the game, then I can use markers in Wise, let's say, rather than tempos. And I can just say, this is the end of a phrase, this is a spot in a phrase that's the end of a rubato phrase that then could go to 2 or 3 other phrases. And as long as it all sounds natural, you can do it. And the tools make it so you can do it, but it's difficult to record.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, more and more these days, I feel like VR has become more accessible for more and more people. There's the Oculus Quest, and it's just continuing and finally blooming. And to develop a game for VR, I think maybe it might have been good timing that it came out a little later, now that VR is a bit more accessible. So bravo to your team. When it came to the narrative and kind of how you approach the music, for those who don't have VR sets, who haven't had a chance to play the game, who might not be able to, can you open up a little bit about maybe some of the textures you chose and how you decided to kind of follow the narrative when it came to musical elements?
Yeah, well, the story was something that Jamie Griesmer, who's our creative director, and he also ended up being basically the main writer of the script. He and I worked on the story from the beginning. It was all based on a small family. It's a sort of intimate story that then ends up blowing out into this endless city, this big city where you fight these stone golems. But it's just you by yourself trying to find your sister. So I knew from the beginning that it was going to be a more intimate story, and I decided to try to keep the music, even when it's big, it's sort of chamber orchestra big. And then in the city, there was just going to be a lot of sort of primitive percussion sounds. And then the final element that's sort of was key to the feeling of the score was the fact that these siblings who were young had lost their mother, and there was some sort of lullaby that the mother would sing. So there was this nice little lullaby melody that I pulled out of an old lullaby that I actually wrote when my daughter was born, way back. And that was my wife's idea. She says, "Hey, you should use that lullaby you wrote for Allison when she was born." I'm like, "That's a great idea." So it's fun when you have a small independent studio and you're in control of so many things, and like nobody had to approve that. I told Jamie, I'm like, "Hey, I got this lullaby." And then when we were casting Dana Davis, who's an actress, she's been on lots of TV shows. When we were casting, one of the things we needed was someone who could sing, at least so they could hum this melody. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I gave it to her, she just sang it beautifully. She's had a really natural, sweet voice, sang it right back to me immediately. So I thought, well, that's going to be easy then, because there was a lot of physical stuff she had to do too, perf cap and everything else. But I knew that she could sit and hum this melody on the rock. And I was funny, I was looking her up the other day, and she's got a degree in music, and she was a vocal major at some point. I'm like, oh, well, that would have been nice if I'd known that, but I didn't have to know that. She did great. So
Amazing.
I think that's a long answer to your question.
No, it's great. I really love it. I always love kind of hearing insights on people's musical narrative, engines, and how they're, engined by like thinking of, how music and narrative are interplaying. And it's awesome to hear about that. And congratulations again on
Let me just say one last thing.
Oh, sure.
Somebody should, because so many people are not going to play the game, they could watch my playthrough on my YouTube channel. So I have Marty O'Donnell YouTube channel that you can go to and watch the entire playthrough of the game, and then you can get a sense of how it works.
Awesome. Well, head over to Marty's YouTube channel, watch the full playthrough. You can hear in its full glory the sound and music of Golem, along with the narrative. Thanks again for coming out, Marty.
Thanks,
You're a
Cody.
legend. I love your work. Take care. Be safe. And
you too.
Congratulations again.
You too, Will. See you soon.
Marty.
All right. Bye.
Okay. We have one more guest, and it is Sander Van Senten from Deliver Us the Moon. He'll be in our chat shortly. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be good. We're almost done. It's the final stretch. Marty's hanging out. It's not a bad thing. All right. Bye, Marty. See you later. Yeah, we're live. This stuff happens. It's live. So it's been a long night. I mean, I've loved talking to all these people, Will. I love hearing process and inspiration. It's great.
Absolutely. Do we have Sander here?
Sander's in. We're going to switch to
Hey.
scene for the interview, and we're in. Sander, welcome. Congratulations. How are you feeling tonight? I've been asking everyone, but how are you feeling, man?
Well, a part of me is exhausted. It's about 5 a.m. here in the Netherlands. Another part of me is exhilarated and can't sleep because this is honestly one of the most exciting moments in my admittedly short career so far. And I'm just really, really glad to be here. It's fantastic.
Amazing, amazing. Congratulations again.
Thanks so much. And also thanks for for hosting this, for organizing everything. It's this is definitely. I was talking to Brian and Emmanuel in the other room just now. this is definitely a G.A.N.G awards to remember.
It's unique. It's unique, that's for sure.
Very unique,
well,
yeah. But it
maybe,
works.
You know, for those who don't know Deliver Us the Moon, for those who don't know your work, can you give us a setup and a brief overview about, you know, the game and your contributions and, you know, how everything came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Deliver Us the Moon, I'm almost switching into pitch mode now. I've had this talk a million times in Gamescom and where
You're
not.
just like turning off. It's that PR phase.
Yeah,
I get it.
I need to watch out with that. But in short, Deliver Us the Moon is all about just being an astronaut. It's about being out there in, you know, the cold desolation of space. It's terrifying, but it's also really majestic, and that's essentially what we've tried to capture, a captivating story that basically lets you assume the role of humanity's last hope, an astronaut, to recover a vital source of energy on the moon. And yeah, it's all about being out there, being alone. It's a very lonely journey, and really capturing or trying to capture, this is what we've tried. You know, the sense of movies like Interstellar and Gravity. These movies have been huge sources of inspiration for us. As for my contribution, I did the music and sound design for the game, and basically it involved years of working together closely with the G.A.N.G interactive team. At first, I just did it for my studio. At some point, I was just taking my computer back from maintenance, and I thought, why don't I just drop it over at their office? And I never left. We're still working together now, and it's just fantastic. It's really cool to be with a team that that recognizes the special things that audio can do for your game in terms of atmosphere, but also feedback and just overall clarity for the player. And I'm very lucky to have been a part of this team.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, how big is the team? It sounds like you're very closely tied with all of the development.
Absolutely, yeah. All of us are pretty much involved with everything. Just today we had design discussions on another project, and basically everybody was just chiming in a productive manner, I should add, because not all big party meetings tend to be productive. But as for numbers, we're currently with 10 people, 10 developers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Healthy indie size, very much so.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's tough. Indie life is tough, but so far we're managing. The cat is escaping.
Gosh, I thought it was a plushie on the bookshelf for a second, but oh no, it's gonna be the only cat appearance of the. Oh, there's two cats back there. Oh man.
There's another one. Yeah, they're brothers.
There's two.
Twins, the only two in the nest.
My cats are in the other room. I'm not gonna let them. They're gonna destroy this, but. Oh no! Of course. I love it. I love it so much. So you're saying you're drawing some inspiration from these epic, huge films. Like when you think of space movies, you instantly lean towards Interstellar or Space Odyssey, or I mean, these are giant kind of inspirations. But trying to walk in those footsteps, I can imagine like a similar feeling for, you know, jumping into a giant franchise like Star Wars or something. But it's just space as a whole. How did you manage that, and how did you decide to differentiate your music and sound from those giant mecha like franchises that have kind of used space as a texture?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I guess or I personally draw a lot of inspiration from words themselves. So when someone comes up with a very striking description of something, that just really somehow that triggers melodies and textures in my mind. So once we put that down, it became I wouldn't say easy, but more, you know, doable to try to find our own flavor. But yeah, these movies, they've really made their mark on the genre. So we definitely drew a lot of influence from them. in terms of instrumentation, for example, we really noticed that we enjoyed the organ in Interstellar. For example, we loved the synthy drones in Gravity, and it's basically I think you always make a mix of the things you know and then add your own little something to it, or you start with your little something and add influences from other things. And I think that's how we grew. We went through a lot of iterations. Currently, the soundtrack is 4 hours long, but we must have tossed away at least as much music, simply because we were so hell-bent on getting the right musical sound. As for the sound design, we were going for a very realistic style to really get you immersed in this astronaut experience, and that meant that we didn't have to look out or just look out to not mimic somebody else's style. Of course, realism is not just a black and white thing. So there are many different choices and decisions you can make there. But all in all, it's about capturing what you think it would sound like for as much as you can, and then adding a lot of extra layers to it because that just makes it feel better.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So one last question. And it was probably the thing I took away from the Twitch chat the most is why didn't the rocket behind you take off? You had your Zoom background
in the rocket. Game, man. That's your job. That's your job, not my job. You need to. That was actually just a still from the first level in the game.
Love it.
It was. The suits are actually.
It's very cool.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Awesome. Well, again, what was that? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was just gonna explain the suits, but I also noticed that you were about to wrap up, and that's fine too. I don't want to take up more of your time.
No, you explain it. Go.
All right. Yeah. So the suits look very legit, right? They look like
totally.
They could have been worn by an astronaut, but they are actually just we bought them from some random farmer here in the Dutch countryside. And he did not really understand what we were going to do with it. And I don't think any one of us really grasped how effective these suits would be. Because we've been taking them for the past few years to every event we've been to. It's GC, REX, PAX, E3, you name it. If we've been there, we've been wearing these suits. And people have come to recognize us with them, and so it's been very effective. You never have to walk up to someone and say, "Hey, I'm a developer, and I'm developing this game." It's always like, "Oh, it's the guys from G.A.N.G Interactive and Deliver Us the Moon," because you really can't miss it. We stand out in the crowd. It's such an effective method. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you again, Sander, for coming out. Congratulations to you. On this award for Deliver Us the Moon, and like you said, man, it's just getting started. There's only more to come, and can't wait to hear more of what you do, man. Congrats again.
Awesome, thank you so much. Thanks for organizing and the hosting. It's incredible. Have a good night.
Take care. Take care.
Good night, Sander. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Okay, well, we did it. My cheeks hurt from smiling so much, but, I saw a big yawn from you a second ago. We made it to the end. We did it. Not so bad on the post show. Not so many bad technical snafus.
This is a lot of fun. I love hearing from all of the the people that I would have loved to talk with in person, but I'm really glad that we got to meet up virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw a question in chat earlier. Are you still afraid of Darth Vader when you play Vader Immortal? Is that a thing?
So, quick plug, Vader Immortal is now coming to PlayStation VR at some point in the summer.
Awesome.
I don't own an Oculus Quest, though I'm working on another title right now called Crearskin's Arc, which is also on Oculus Quest. However, I'm looking forward to playing Vader Immortal again, giving it another shot, and hopefully my fear of characters in VR will have gone away. I played and loved Blood and Truth by the Sony London team, and I think once I got over the initial fear, I was able to enjoy that game quite a lot. So hopefully those phobia days are behind us.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, let's wrap it up. Let's do it. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations to the winners and nominees. Thank you to our amazing sponsors, the board of directors, the advisory board, the officers, all of the members, anyone who tuned in. I think at some point I watched the amount of people tuning in push like 350, which is insane.
Yeah.
I like almost started crying. I'm not even joking. There's nothing quite like meeting up with the entire community, and this is weird and different, but it felt right and it felt good, and now that we're at the end, it felt like the right move and the perfect way to kind of honor our community.
Absolutely. Huge shouts out to everyone behind the scenes at Audio Gang making this possible. Cody, thank you for inviting me to be your personal Andy Richter. And
no, don't do that. It's just the tech, man. I don't know. It's just how it went down. All right. Well, we'll see all of you next year in person at the Gang Awards, hopefully Game SoundCon or wherever else we're at. Everyone be safe. Take care. Thanks for coming to the post show and hanging out. All 100 or so of you. This is awesome. Everyone have a great day, great night, great morning, wherever you're at. Take care. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you for attending the Gang Awards post show. This wraps our post show coverage and concludes this year's celebration of the top talent and best work in the game audio industry. Join us next year at the Gang Awards.